YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. You can see by my name, I'm dreaming of the realm of the Wood Elves already. It's actually kind of getting hard waiting for it to come, so hopefully it gets here soon. So I'm going to play another Greenskin army. I got 4 black orcs up front. I'm up against Chaos. I got a big one on each flank. My core is made up of skulkers guarding a couple of big bosses and an orc war boss. Pretty standard crew there. I've got 1 orc boarboy biggin and then the broken tusk mob boarboy biggin, and then I've got the rusty errors here as well, which I figured might be handy against Chaos. So if Chaos brought a flying squad, I was counting on the smoke bomb for the skulkers to slow that down. Chaos took all their money from the flying squad and invested it in hell cannons with some protection, hoping to let the artillery do his work. You'll notice that I have spread my infantry out just in case there were hell cannons, and there are. So you're going to see my army stay spread out, and the hell cannons just, man, they do absurd damage when they hit. So I'm going to take a lot of damage. I have to quickly close the distance to Chaos and start the fight. I'm going to start immediately swinging boars out to the flanks, because Chaos has given up all their mobility for the extra firepower, basically. And then they've also given up a ton of money by picking Chosen here in the center, but these are not Chosen with great weapons. So it's almost like he hadn't considered the possibility of there being black orcs. Chosen are very strong infantry units, but they don't have a lot of anti-armor, whereas black orcs have a considerable amount of anti-armor, and they're going to perform very well for their cost against the Chosen. So he's taking his best option here, which is to weaken my black orcs significantly before the fight. He's got a fire sorcerer, a back line of marauders with great weapons. There's 4 of them. And then he's just got Prince Sigvald here, which is an interesting choice again against the Greenskins. The regeneration's nice for him, but I don't know how well it's going to work out. I forget about my errors for a minute. I have to move them up. I was hoping that maybe I could get my opponent to make some kind of mistake early here with the halberds guarding his hell cannons, so I'm kind of testing to see how much attention he's paying, and I'm going to start scooting around the flanks. Now, boar biggins are not a particularly fast unit, so I'm going to push around and just see if I can expose a weakness in his defense. Again, the 3 Chosen up front are going to get hit hard by a charge from the black orcs. And he's not in a good position to countercharge because he's slightly downhill here, and he doesn't actually get a countercharge order because I think he was messing with his halberds in the background. So his Chosen are going to get caught completely standing still. He's going to reinforce with the warriors, and then I bring in my my main blob here, and there was no need to even use the smoke bomb here because his guys weren't charging me. So I charge in, and we're going to start putting ridiculous damage down on this Chosen with all the armor piercing from the nasty skulkers and the black orcs here. Of course, the hell cannons have a good target, and he's still protecting them, and so since he decides to keep his halberds there to protect the hell cannons, I'm going to quickly smash one of these Chaos Marauders, and I'm going to free up my big un off the flank, and I'm going to push the big un back here, and that's forcing his guys away from their protective area. So you can see my big uns taking around the flank to engage his halberds, and now his hell cannons are going to be in trouble because they're not going to be able to be protected. So you can see my big uns here chasing his warriors with halberds. And the rusty arrows are back here. They were firing at this Chosen, making sure to sunder their armor. And I'm going to pick another target for him here in a moment and just use them to continue to sunder the armor of key opponents. Here I get caught for just a second by his halberds, but I'm going to get away from that, pull out. And over here you can see his halberds are now fixed. And then I got his hell cannon in that blob too, so it was a nice 2-for-1. And I'm going to take these boars straight in here and hit that hell cannon. But the infantry fight's going very handily for me because, like I said, my opponent really didn't bring the right troops to counter black orcs. His fire sorcerer's in here, but hasn't really had a significant impact on the battle because his guys are losing significantly, and that's the last good his hell cannons are going to do right there. So this one already had 115 kills, which again is pretty absurd. It just got a good hit in this blob fight, so that's how quickly they can do damage, and that's why I was so intent on taking them out. And at this point, I'm going to start ganging up on Sigvald, and no matter how magnificent he is, he wasn't going to do well, so it gives me a decisive victory there because my opponent admits defeat a little bit early, but I mean he was defeated at that point. So this particular opponent, he spent too much money on the hell cannons here. He played me a good game earlier. I didn't happen to save the recording. I should have. It was a pretty decent game, but he played me a game earlier with Beastmen versus Greenskins, and it was a very close victory for him. I felt like I'm not trying to take anything away from him. It was a pretty tight match, and I liked it, but in the end, it was kind of annoying because Kazarak was getting 3-on-1 from my war boss and 2 big bosses, and somehow didn't die even though he was already below half health, and it gave a gore bullet his time to come back, and it was kind of ridiculous. He ended up picking it up, but he played pretty good there, and his army here, though, I don't know what inspired this one, because it just did not work out. I had tons of anti-armor, which was perfect for taking down his chosen and his halberds, and then I had the mobility where he had none, and so I really feel like if Chaos is going to come up against Greenskins, I really think that taking a flying squad is always going to be more valuable than trying to do something like the artillery or the crazy infantry here. And if you were going to bring chosen, you definitely got to bring chosen with great weapons. Just a few thoughts there. Anyway, let's talk Greenskins for a second. This isn't necessarily a faction focus, but I've been kind of thinking through their weaknesses here and their lords and different stuff like that. I've mostly spent a lot of my time using just the Orc War Boss, because he's kind of like your jack of all trades. He could use a wyvern if he ever needed it. He's got a war boar so he can get around quicker. The biggest downside of this guy is his leadership is pretty easy to break. He's not immune to psychology. The big upside for him is that he has Potion of Foolhardiness and a Potion of Toughness. That's the real benefit for this guy. In terms of other lords, I haven't messed with the Night Goblin War Boss yet. He's very cheap. I'd like to see if there's anything he'd be useful at. He's kind of like Skarsnik Light, but he doesn't have a bonus versus large either. You've got the Great Goblin Shaman. You all saw me use him some. This one's kind of fun if you're just looking for a bit of a different army, but you got to be very careful with him because he's very, very fragile. Skarsnik, I haven't found a build that I really like him in yet, and he seems so vulnerable to flying spam, like extremely vulnerable, that I haven't been big on bringing him. If you were going to bring him, you'd have to bring something to protect him from flying spam. Grimgore is a lot of fun to use. This guy's a beast when it comes to taking down other heroes, except that he doesn't have a healing potion. And so, unfortunately, Grimgore will find himself frequently getting pinned down by 2 or 3 enemies and beat to crap. And since he doesn't have a healing potion, he can't pull out of it. Now, Azag, you saw me use to. I feel like this guy's great if you're looking to do a fear army for the Greenskins, and then he's good at kind of hero sniping as well. And then Wurzag is obviously his special ability here with Effigy to get. That's his one-trick pony type show in my mind. But all the lords seem to have some use that I've been messing with. The War Boss is your general purpose. The Shaman is if you're wanting to go with like kind of a magic-based army. Then of course Azag is your fear army, and then Wurzag is kind of like your general sniping type strategy there. So anyway, yeah, it's been a lot of fun using those. And in terms of useful units, I definitely want to call out, because I didn't see this, I don't know why, but the Nasty Skulkers with their smoke bomb, these guys become a pretty handy unit. Don't be fooled, their stats look pretty crappy, but if you get these guys into a situation where they're supporting a better infantry unit or a lord, this armor piercing they have can definitely add up, especially if they come under the influence of Wa from a War Boss, or Here We Go from the Orc Shaman, because with all that extra attack, these guys start laying in some pretty serious armor piercing damage. And then the smoke bomb, like I said, it can take away tons of speed. So like if a flying squad, and these guys are stock too, so they can hide. And I'll just give you a quick demonstration. Let's bring in, let's take a couple of Nasty Skulkers here. I'll bring in an Orc War Boss, which would normally die pretty easy to say like an Empire, a General of the Empire. Let's even bring Karl Franz, because Karl has a lot of charge damage. We'll give him all this special stuff here to really pimp him out. It's given me like the better chances here, but let's say that Karl's also got himself an Empire Captain. Let's see what we spend here. We're at 95.42. I'll just make sure that the spend is relatively even. I mean, of course, this is a one-off scenario where I'm kind of testing one-on-one. A lot of people don't bring any of that stuff, and they kind of pimp them out like that. So 84.92. That would allow me to have a Broken Tusk mob, I believe. 84, yeah, okay. So relatively equal spend here. So yeah, then I got my potions set up. Let's do it. So I'll just give you a demonstration. What I'm hoping to prove here is just how much difference on the charge the Nasty Skulkers can make whenever the enemy flying units, and then the speed difference too. So the charge and the speed differential is big. So if you bring these units, and I'll just kind of pile them up to be a hit point sponge for the War Boss, and that's kind of how I've deployed these guys sometimes in battle. And if you just hard group them like that, Control G, you can make them move together. And let me just kind of demonstrate how this would work. So again, the enemy can't see your Nasty Skulkers, and the special ability for these guys does take some time. Actually, crap, it takes some time to become available. Hopefully I can stay away from these guys long enough to cool it down. No! I may have to reload here. Well, yeah. I'll show it here in a minute when Carl comes in. So here comes Carl. As soon as he gets within the 30-meter radius, pop that, and it goes into instant effect. It slows down his speed and his charge bonus significantly, and then all the armor piercing from those guys comes into play, and the enemy just can't get away good because they're under the effects of the smoke bomb. I say that, my goblins routed. Did that take away the effect of the smoke bomb when they rout? I don't know. Obviously, you can see why I keep the big guns around too, and then as soon as your war boss starts to eat it a little too much, you can always pop out the potions here. A little bit late on that smoke bomb, but we'll keep everybody slowed down where they can't get away. Yeah, the smoke bomb effect should last for longer, but I think whenever it routed my gobos, it took away the effect of the smoke bomb. You can see here Carl Franz trying to get away. We should, yeah, see that? How he can't get away from me? So that's what you can use the smoke bomb for. That's the biggest one there, too, is that they charge in and they don't see your skulkers in time, and you have a cavalry unit, you use your smoke bomb, the enemy's not going to be able to get back up in the air, and that's going to be your big advantage to push against them whenever you're using that smoke bomb. So you can see just how difficult, and of course if you have a poison unit around, like you probably would with the Goblin Big Boss, it's even that much more difficult. So that's why I like the skulkers to help break a flying lord. So that'll kind of give you an idea. And we could do another demonstration too. Let's try it again. And I know I'm going to outspend the Empire here. I get that. I understand that. But let's just show you a demonstration of like what happens if you have the rusty errors around too. And this time we'll just demonstrate. Like I said, remember that I know the spend is skewed a little bit here. I'm trying to demonstrate what would happen on a micro scale in a larger battle, like if you spend your funds right and you're able to defend right. Let's make sure that we get our smoke bomb cooled down properly this time. So if I put that in there, put our war boss right there. Now we've got time to cool it down. We've got these rusty errors kind of waiting back here, tricksy enough with their... Okay. So now we'll have time to cool off the smoke bomb, and we'll make sure everything's done right here. And actually, let's put these guys out here. That'll be where it's done right. Okay, I got my skulkers. We got the right cooldown. We are definitely going to smoke bomb these guys just as soon as they're in range. Right, there's the poison arrows. I'm going to smoke bomb Carl. And then I immediately charge back now that they're two. See how slow Carl Franz is coming down? That's the key there. And then you can sunder the armor of the enemy units by firing in here with the rusty arrows. So you can see the armor effects on Carl Franz. It should be pretty significant. If I can get moused over him. Come on, rusty arrows. Take a shot there. Yeah, they're blocked. They don't have a shot at Franz. Yeah, my rusty arrows don't have a shot at the moment, so I can't pull down the armor sundering stuff on him. But you can see that just how bad that smoke bomb screwed up the charge of Carl Franz, and without his charge, Carl Franz is not nearly so potent. Hit that Empire. So yeah, just being able to use these skulkers to slow down enemy units, it's a big deal. You can see here how the combination works really well against flying units. Watch that. Boom. Takes away like a huge amount of his charge whenever you catch him with it, and that's a big deal. Like I said, flying units rely heavily on that charge. You get your little bit of extra effects here with the armor sundering and the armor piercing from the skulkers, and it has a big impact. So that's, I don't know, that's kind of what I found. Like I said, it doesn't work perfect every time. Obviously I lose still sometimes, but that's some of the key elements that I like to take down flying squads that are trying to assail your Greenskin army. What do you all like to do as the Greenskins to take down flyers? Kind of curious to hear your thoughts. Hope you enjoyed this. I like making it for you. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you all soon.